a man who thought he had time. David was the kind of man who always planned ahead. A successful lawyer, he mapped out every detail of his life, career goals, retirement plans, even where he wanted to be buried someday. Of course, he lived like time was on his side, always telling himself, "I'll think about God later." He had heard about Jesus growing up, but life got busy. Sundays were for rest, not church. Faith, that was for people who needed a crutch. David was doing just fine on his own. A sudden wake-up call. One evening, while driving home after celebrating a big case win, David's phone buzzed. A text. He glanced at the screen for a second, just a second. That was all it took. Headlights, a loud crash, then darkness. When David opened his eyes, but he wasn't in his car anymore. He was standing in a vast, endless space, bright, yet weighty. As if the very air carried judgment, before him stood a throne, and a voice like thunder spoke. "It is appointed for man to die once, and after this, judgment." Panic set in. Wait, this can't be happening. I had more time. Then, a screen appeared before him, replaying his life, every choice, every action, every moment he ignored God, the times he laughed off the gospel, the moments he put money, career, and pleasure above everything else. His heart pounded. I wasn't a bad person. I helped people. I was honest in court. But the voice replied, "Your good deeds cannot erase your sin." David saw the truth now. He had spent his life preparing for everything except this moment. A second chance. Then, just as fear gripped him, another voice spoke, gentle, yet full of authority. "Father, I paid for him." David turned and saw a figure stepping forward, Jesus. His hands bore scars. His presence radiated love and sacrifice. "David never accepted me, but my blood was shed for him." If he had believed, he would have been saved. Regret washed over David. He had ignored the one thing that mattered most. He had a lifetime to choose Christ, but now, it was too late. Then gasp. His eyes flew open. He was back in his wrecked car, paramedics surrounding him. He was alive. Tears streamed down his face as he whispered, "Jesus, I believe." No more delays. He no longer lived like time was endless. David survived that crash, but he was never the same. He knew life was fragile, and eternity was real. That Sunday, for the first time in decades, David walked into a church not as a skeptic, but as a man who had faced judgment and found mercy. He wasted no time anymore, because now he understood death is certain, judgment is real, but through Jesus, salvation is freely given.